first of all, let me say that was one of the things that most scared me about being a deacon, right? At one point I was like, I could be a deacon, but maybe I don't need to preach. I liked all the service stuff and, any teaching, but I was really nervous about homilies because I wasn't sure what I was going to say. And if I said something, is it anything that anybody wants to listen to? And, public speaking just in general is really hard. And, this is a funny story. I happened to be down in Pittsford with the Morses going to a football game. Went to a Catholic church, listened to a homily that, from my perception, was like a horrible homily, right? But the beauty of it was, when I walked out, I said, I can at least do that. So it just took so then my deal with God is when I give a homily, all I'm going to promise you, Lord, is that I'm going to give it 100%. I'm going to leave it all on the field. I'm going to do the best that I can do, and then however that falls. And if people hear it, if 600 people hear it and 599 people hate it, and it speaks to one person like it did to this woman a couple weeks ago, and it brings her back to the church, boom, that is cool, right? So that's how I got over the homily thing. In terms of my process, I'm glad I only preach once a month or so, because I really need all the time to do it. I read the scripture that I am, all three readings that I'm going to be preaching over, and I especially focus on the gospel. And I will literally almost kind of pray on them for a week. What's speaking to me? What did I like? What's bothering me? Part of my ministry as a deacon is I always feel like when I'm up on the altar, that not so much that I'm part of the hierarchy, I like to think of myself as representing the people on the altar. So when I'm thinking about giving a homily, I'm always thinking about, if I'm sitting in the pew, what do I want to hear? And, sometimes you can hear a homily and you've heard the message 1,000 times, and I will tune it out. So I want to hear a message, but I'm always trying to think of what's a different perspective. And so when I'm praying for that week, that's what I'm thinking about. What's a different perspective? What's kind of going on? And that starts to bubble up in me. And then, I might not even have an idea what I want to preach on yet, but I've kind of watered the ground, gotten the soil ready. And then I read a ton of commentaries, scripture scholars, other that have written ideas and things they think about that scripture. I read a ton of other homilies, both Catholic and Protestant, just to see what other people have preached on it. And between my prayer and that, usually a theme will emerge. And I've discovered that usually the first one that I feel in my gut is the one to go with. And then once I have that theme, I like to write out my entire homily. And I do that because when I give a homily, I want to make sure I'm staying on track. I spend a lot of time trying to pick just the right words and in just the right order. And I'm not a good writer, so it takes me about a week to write it. And then my wife, Marlene, is a very integral part of the process, because a lot of times I can think I know what I want to say and what I'm trying to put. It's good to have another pair of eyes on it. So I will actually, after I've done a first draft of the homily, I give it to Marlene and say, what do you think? And she comes back with all kinds of, I don't know what this means, or what were you trying to say there? And I think you're starting to get off track here. And she just gives me all this wonderful feedback, and I call it our homiletic dance. She'll give all that feedback, write it out. I'll take it and then I'll redo the homily, trying to incorporate what I think her good suggestions are. Then I'll give it back to her. She'll read it again. She'll have, now that she's looking at it fresh again, she maybe has more. We will literally go back sometime, back and forth, 3 or 4 times, right? And so then I have a homily. And then I would say I spend a good 2 days practicing it, where I will read it out loud. Because then I'm always amazed at how you can read the written word, but then when you you say it, stuff starts to sound different. It doesn't quite sound the same as when I read it, so then I'll start making these minor changes. And literally, sometimes I'm making changes 5 minutes before the 4 o'clock Mass. I'll be up there, this just doesn't, sound, and I'll give the homily, and I may make changes, usually minor, for the next day. Somebody asked me, when am I done with my homilies? Writing them? And I'll tell them after the last Mass on Sunday, because I could be doing changes right up through then. So to me, roughly, it's a week of prayer, a week of research, a week of writing, a week of editing and practicing. For me to really fully get everything I can out of a homily.